Welcome, everyone, to the Man in Search of Gold podcast. I'm your host, Eric Mangold, and I'm the founder of Argosy Wealth Management. This is the show where we share ideas, strategies, and history to help you improve your life one financial move at a time. Let's get started. Well, welcome everybody to the Man in Search of Gold podcast. This is where we try to improve everyone's financial lives one step at a time. I'm your host, Eric Mangold, and I'm glad you could be with me. This is episode number 1, and I guess every single podcaster out there has had to start someplace. So my desire is that I'm going to put some good content out. Hopefully this isn't terrible, and I hope you enjoy it. It's going to be a lot of different content that I'm going to produce out here on the podcast, and I hope it all is something that can help benefit you in little ways. And I like to say there's some low-hanging fruit in your own financial life that maybe this is a way, and getting some information here is to help you pick that fruit and improve things one step at a time. So today what I'm going to do is talk a little bit about my story, is that how I became a financial advisor, to have my own financial advisory practice, why I do what I do. And if you'd like some more information, or if you'd like to check out my website, I invite you to head over to www.emangold.com. That's www.emangold.com, and check it out. And from there, let's kick it off. I hope it doesn't stink. But I've got all the gear here. I've got the lights, got the podcast mic, and hopefully some good content, which is most important. So first, let's start off with my story of where I grew up. I grew up in southern New Jersey, in a town called Haddonfield, which is a pretty small town, mostly middle class. Well, at least when my parents moved in, it was mostly middle class. It's certainly changed since I moved away a long time ago. But Haddonfield, if you may notice, there's a couple of interesting facts about it. Michael Myers from the Halloween movie was from Haddonfield. They said Haddonfield, Illinois, but it was really Haddonfield, New Jersey. Another tidbit is Billy Crystal from When Harry Met Sally, and I might be dating myself with that movie. He's from Haddonfield. And also there's a couple other movies that have Haddonfield reference in it. But anyway, it's a small town, very close to Philadelphia. So we grew up Philadelphia sports fans. So hopefully I don't lose a lot of listeners by that reference. But it was mostly middle class. I came from a blue collar family. My dad worked for Bell Telephone, which became AT&T, that became Lucent, then became Verizon. And my mom worked as a legal secretary, and I had one brother. So one of the things that my dad always tried to instill in us was a sense of honesty, hard work, and perseverance. And he was a guy that I definitely looked up to, and I looked up to him in different ways as he got older. And I think he passed over 20 years ago. And I think some of the things that you learn from your parents, you learn the most when you get older, and sometimes you learn a lot of their lessons when they're gone. But honesty, hard work, and perseverance were definitely 3 tenets of our household. And also treating people with respect. It was always a treat people with respect. And you're never better than anyone. You can always treat everyone with respect. There's no reason why you can't. So my brother and I were involved in lots of sports and activities. I grew up playing soccer, baseball, and ice hockey. And we did things like the Boy Scouts, and we would go fishing and go down to the beach and the Jersey Shore and things of that nature. But I think really starting to get into some of the crux of why I'm doing a podcast, and I think really what started me on my journey to be a financial advisor, is when I was in 3rd grade, my dad had a pretty nasty tumor that was discovered on his back, on his spine. And when he had that tumor, he had a pretty invasive surgery and a lot of complications from it. Now I was in 3rd grade, and I didn't really understand a lot of it. But it was something that started him on a path of having a chronic pain condition in his back. And it was something that built slowly over time and got progressively worse. He ended up having, if I remember right, 3 spinal fusions. And if you know anything about spinal fusions, they're pretty in-depth operations. They're very invasive. The recovery is long and hard, and he had 3 of them. When he started getting really sick was when my older brother started going to college. And my brother and I were the first 2 folks in our family that went to college. And his goal was to make sure that him and my mom could put us through school. And there was a lot of times, frankly, he probably could have gone out on disability, right? His back was so bad and he was unable to work, and he probably could have gone out on disability, but he didn't. He persevered through, knowing that he had to get my brother and I through college, and he kept that as a focus for him. But with that, when ultimately he did need to stop working, he had, at that time, he had a fantastic pension from Verizon that he almost became eligible for, but he had to take disability before he became fully qualified or fully eligible for that pension. So he missed out on some financial gain. And my parents weren't without their financial struggles. And I think it was really when I got into college and I started witnessing some of the financial struggles. It was weird. I think I saw the financial struggles that they were having more from when I was away at college rather than when I was home. And that's when I started really trying to understand, okay, is there a way that I could help? And at this point, I was turning into a junior at college, University of Rhode Island, go Rhodey. And they were starting a new curriculum, which was an offshoot of the business school, called personal financial planning. And it was a new major. And there was only about 10 or 11 or 12 of us that were in the new major. And the curriculum was new. And so it was for those folks that thought they might want to be financial advisors. One of the things that we did is we had a lot of interviews with financial advisors in the local area. And I remember sitting with this one local financial advisor in the Kingston, Rhode Island area, which is close to the campus, who came and spoke to us. And then I got an interview. I asked him for an interview after that. And I spent a couple hours with him, and it was life-changing because I was witnessing and listening to the things that he was helping his clients do. And I said, all your clients are coming to you for these questions. Like, it's very interesting material. The answers that you're giving them, the help that you're giving, the advice that you're giving, is really making a difference in their lives. Like the before and after pictures are quite remarkable. He said that's the nature of the business. We really can change people's lives when we're doing great work here. And it really got its hooks on me. So that's where I started focusing on, okay, this is probably the career path that I want to take, that I want to pursue. So stuck with the major of being a personal finance major, University of Rhode Island, and that's the degree I graduated with. When I graduated from college, my thought process was, let me get into a well-known name and work my way up and see what type of opportunities I can create for myself. So I got a job at Merrill Lynch outside of Philadelphia as a 401k rep. And I said, perfect, this is great for me. This is where I'll start. I get my foot in the door. I do a great job, and then I start to network inside of the Merrill community. I mean, Merrill Lynch, big name, right? So I was a 401k rep, so I was helping mom and pop companies in the Midwest mostly, helping them set up their 401ks. What would happen at Merrill Lynch was the financial advisor would go out and help these companies say, okay, you need a 401k plan. And the companies would say, okay, we'll do the 401k through Merrill Lynch. And then the financial advisor would hand it off to someone like me, and we'd help set them up. And I remember the first day that I showed up at Merrill Lynch, which I didn't know about until a few months later, was that department, they had actually planned for about 100 plans to be sold, 100 401k plans to be sold that entire year. What I had found out later, they had sold something to the effect of 700 plans in the first month. But Merrill was only staffed for 100 plans for the year. So I literally walked in the door. I was handed my stack of files of my 35 clients, and they said, well, the top 10, they've all been waiting for a phone call from you for a week. I said, check me again. I just started today. How could they be calling me for a week? And they're like, yeah, give these people a call. And so no training, literally trial by fire. I mean, it was the type of thing where I'm on the phone where that's a great question. I don't know the answer to your question. Let me get the answer for you. So I remember taking pages and pages of notes, right? Pages and pages of notes of these questions. And thankfully, a lot of the questions from other plans were exactly the same. So the trial by fire, you learned really, really quickly. But the turnover there was about 5 to 6 months because you're getting yelled at all day because these plans just weren't getting set. They weren't being sold the right way. The expectations were very high, but we didn't have the people to help these folks. So very long hours, and you got yelled at a lot. long story short, I went for about a year and a half there, and then I transitioned into a marketing role for retirement plans where we helped. It was actually a call center. Financial advisors would call and say, I'm on my way to a client. This is their kind of the client's DNA, their company DNA. What kind of plan is right for them? And we would guide them onto setting up a plan and sometimes jump on the phone with the clients. But I remember what I really enjoyed doing was I really enjoyed speaking with the clients. I really enjoyed speaking with, especially those people, even that sometimes they were frustrated because they didn't get a lot of answers the first 10 days before I got there. I really enjoyed working with these folks because there were a lot of them were super extremely nice. Get to have good relationships with them, and they knew ultimately I was trying to help them. So from there, I was again working in the marketing department, and I started really networking my way through the Merrill world, which is massive. Ended up getting an interview with a branch manager of the financial advisor group in Center City, Philadelphia, again near where I grew up, and we had a really nice conversation. And he looked at me and he said, you don't know anybody, you don't know anything. And I don't want to put you in a room and have you cold call for 100, 120 hours a week because you're probably going to hate it. You're probably not going to get anywhere. And in 2 or 3 months, I'm going to have to fire you. And you seem like you have a really good demeanor and you seem like you're really genuine. You want to help somebody. So I help people. And I believe we really are changing people's lives here, but I just don't think you're ready. I don't think you're ready for this type of role. What I'd like you to do is go and round out your skill set, go round out your skill set, meet as many people as you can, learn as much as you can. And then let's keep in touch and let's revisit things. And I frankly thought that was pretty honest and genuine and good advice because he was right. I didn't really know a whole lot and I didn't really know anyone. He even said to me, he goes, Eric, if you were to get me on the phone, and he said, I'm a guy that's wealthy and has assets, and I'd probably be a great client for you. So if you're 25 and I'm 50, how are you going to entice me to sit down and talk with you? And it was, he's like, you can BS me or you can tell me honestly. And I said, well, I imagine the training's really good. He goes, it is. He goes, but you're 25, I'm 50. He's like, I've been around the block, you haven't. And so I thought it was very genuine and timely advice. So from there, what I did is I went to work for Mike Bloomberg's company in the city, and which was a fantastic opportunity, fantastic place to work. I was working in the sales department selling the Bloomberg professional service, which was real-time data for traders and analysts and economists and investment bankers. If you were, and all different kinds of asset classes. So I've been on different trading floors, whether it's a stock trading floor, bond trading floor, commodities, hedge funds, foreign exchange, whatever it is, I've been there. And the goal of the Bloomberg service was to make a trader a better trader, make an economist a better economist, make a research analyst put out better research because the data was so robust. But the thing with Bloomberg was that the training was so fantastic. And people said, you'll never stop learning at Bloomberg unless you want to. We would take classes, extra classes, just on different types of market conditions, market sectors, asset classes. But then we're employing that when we go and talk to the people that we're trying to work with and trying to make clients. And I learned a lot of really great lessons there. One of them was you have to make sure that you are the early bird that catches the worm many times, because I remember I was in a competitive situation with another rival vendor to Bloomberg, and he would show up on the stock trading floor at about 9:25 every day, and the stock market's opens at 9:30. Well, I was on that same trading floor at 7 every day and working with these guys because that's when they had the time to talk. And I remember I got very close with the head of the trading desk, and he said to me as I was walking out one day, because it's 9:30, they're getting their day going. He's like, look at that guy coming in. He comes in at 9:25 every day. He's like, he asked me to sit down. He goes, I'm starting the day. He's like, you're here every day at 7 a.m. He's like, that's why we're working with you. So that was a good lesson, being the early bird. Another lesson that I learned through Mike Bloomberg was the lesson of philanthropy. Mike is very philanthropic. He gives away hundreds of millions of dollars a year, literally, through his charities. And one of the things that they did is that around the Christmas time, the holiday time, they had us go out and you got an extra day off if you went and volunteered, and they would actually make it very easy for you. So we would volunteer at Meals on Wheels. We would volunteer in nursing homes, assisted living homes. And it was really something that really caught me. And that got its hooks on me as well, because not only did it feel really good to volunteer, but it felt really good to help the people that we were talking to. I mean, you deliver a Meals on Wheels meal to someone, and they really light up. And when you sit in a nursing home and you're volunteering in a nursing home, sometimes people are lonely, and sometimes we just sit and just talk, and just you felt that warmth of how giving back can really help people. So from Bloomberg, I really felt like I took my opportunity there really as far as I could take it. It was one of the things that there was almost like a ceiling of where you wanted to go. I mean, I was in the sales department. I loved being in the sales department and meeting new people. But if you started getting promoted, which I did, it started getting into a more admin role, and you're in the office all the time, and it was very administrative, and I just didn't like that. So I joined a financial technology company that was a little too good to pass up. They were growing. They were growing like gangbusters. They had a fantastic product. Everything that they said when I was joining came true about how they were growing, they were going to get bought, that type of thing. For me, it was a financial technology company that focused on post-trade processing. And if you've ever know anything about post-trade processing, it's not exactly the most exciting thing in the world. I mean, nobody comes home and tells their wife about, hey, you know what? We did this thing today to help these people trade more efficiently after the trade was processed. Like it didn't really feel very, very fulfilled. So I was there for about 2 years, and this was in the height of the financial crisis in 2008. And I realized that my career was really getting off track, and I didn't know how to put it back on track. So what I ended up doing was I hired a career coach, and that was one of the really life-changing moves that I've ever made. I think people said, what are some of the smartest moves you ever made? One of the smartest moves that I ever made in my career was hiring that career coach. She was fantastic, and she wasn't a cheerleader. She was a coach, and she helped me understand that, okay, by coming back, she's like, whatever happened to financial advisory? She's like, you went to school for this. You interviewed with us. You went to Merrill for this. She's like, you went to Bloomberg pretty much for this, to learn and round out your skill set. What happened? And I said, I don't know. I was in my late 30s. I was about ready to have a first kid. And I said, did I miss my window? And she goes, well, I don't know. Did you miss your window? And one of the questions that she posed to me that I felt was really impactful was, she said, well, what if you didn't miss your window, but you think you did, and you act like you did, and you don't execute on trying to pursue your dream, and fast forward 10 years from now, are you going to live with regret? And I thought that was a fantastic question. It's actually a question that I ask people now, certain times when they're making different types of moves. I'm like, okay, if we do make this move or don't make this move, will you live with regret? And that was very impactful for me. And I'll never forget that. So basically, I reached out to my network and looked for ways to interview. And I interviewed probably, it was amazing. When you reach out to your network, I think most people's network really wants to help you. So I reached out to a number of folks. I had about a dozen interviews at a lot of different investment management places, investment management shops, and financial advisory shops, and big shops, little shops, medium-sized shops. And it was one of the things where it was hard to find that fit. And I remember the one day that I was going into a new firm to interview, and this is actually my third interview, when I was meeting with the managing director there, and he had a picture of his son with him on the ice and playing hockey. And I'm like, oh, this is great. I played hockey all my life. I could chat with him forever about hockey. And so we spoke for probably about an hour and 20 minutes. And the first hour was all about playing hockey and growing up. And he said, listen, he goes, I would hire you, but he goes, we're not a financial advisory firm that's great of launching new careers. We're great if you're an existing advisor. The analogy that he uses is that if you're on the 4th floor, we're great at getting you to the 10th floor. But we're not good at is getting you from the 1st floor to the 4th floor to the 10th floor. He's like, we're not built for that. So what I'd like you to do is call a friend of mine down at Guardian Life Insurance and talk to him. And that's where I had started my financial advisory practice in my career. And it was through Guardian, which had another fantastic training program, and really helped you understand, okay, financial advisory, most people, when you hear financial advisory, they think investments, stocks. Financial advisory is so much more than that. Yes, financial investment management, stocks, bonds, mutual funds, ETFs, these types of things, of course, they're part of a financial plan, but they're one part of a financial plan. And there could be 10, 11, 12 parts to someone's financial plan, of which investment management is one piece. So Guardian really helped me understand that, because I went in with the perception financial advisory was picking stocks, picking investments. From there, I had a couple of bounces. I was recruited by a firm to help with financial advisory to college professors. And then it's interesting. The culture really wasn't right. And there, I went to a firm after that, and it was great as well. But a couple years down the road, I was introduced to the folks at Summit Financial, and they were unbelievable. I mean, just super, super impressive. It wasn't that the advisors at Summit had amazing practices that I really wanted to emulate, and they did. They have a lot of that, but they also had this genuine sense of partnership, where sometimes, where in the other firms that I was at, if you went and talked to somebody and you asked them a question, you almost felt like you were on the meter. Like, meter's running here, I've got 30 seconds. There wasn't that kind of like, hey, maybe I'll help you, maybe I won't. But at Summit, there was this true sense of partnership, of people that were not only willing, but they were able, and they were going to help you, and not just give you the 5-second answer. They were going to say, okay, here's how I do it. Here's why I do it. And for people some of the advisors have been in practice for 50 years, and that just, it's amazing the practices they built. Again, it's something that I strive for, because you can see the passion that they still have to help their clients, as well as their clients absolutely love the work that they're doing for them, which is, again, what I strive to do with my existing clients and my new clients, is have them be thrilled with the work that I'm doing for them. But the Summit partnership really was something that I envied. And it was pretty much a no-brainer, because with partnering by Summit, it gave me the ability to hang my own shingle as Argosy Wealth Management, which is something I always wanted to do. I always wanted to have my own company. And with the partnership with Summit, I'm able to do that. With Summit, I'm able to plug into their legal, their technology, their investment shelf, all of these things, so I don't have to reinvent the wheel. I have all these things I've plugged into at the same time, having Argosy Wealth Management. So now, I want to get into a little bit of the niche that I started, and I hope people are still listening. And if you are, thank you for being here. But one of the niches that I started, I didn't start. I was introduced about 6 years ago by a friend of mine. I was introduced to a neurosurgeon. And that neurosurgeon was a super nice guy. And I walked in, and he asked me some questions, and it was one of the things where I was like, he's like, Eric, what do I do with this 401k? When do I have to pay this back? I was like, huh? Pay this back? I'm like, yeah, pay this back. Like, I have to pay this back, don't I? I said, no, doc, this is your retirement. This is yours. This is your money. Oh. And this was a guy that was brilliant. I mean, one of the things that he did was he would operate on people's brains to get out the cancer out of their brains. Amazingly brilliant guy, but when it came to finances, he just didn't have the acumen. And he even said that. He's like, oh, Eric, I just don't pay attention to this stuff. So I did a whole financial plan for him. And I remember the day that I said, and this is the day before electronic signatures and DocuSign, but I had a list of things I needed him to sign to execute the plan. He's like, all right, because listen, he's like, I'm going to go away for about 4 weeks. I've got a couple weeks vacation. I've got a couple conferences. And I'm like, doc, I've got this documents to sign to implement the plan that we talked about. He's like, yeah, I definitely going to sign it. He's like, I said, listen, doc, they have a shelf life, these documents. Like I printed them out yesterday. Like I have a certain time when I have to get them signed, or else I have to redo everything. Can I grab you for 30 seconds tomorrow before you head out on vacation? He's like, well, no, tomorrow I'm on surgery. So I say, well, can I show up? Like, what time do you get into surgery? He's like, I'll be in there at 6:30. I'm like, if I show up at 6, I go, can I grab you for 90 seconds to sign, 7 places? He's like, sure. I'll tell my surgical coordinator about it. I'll let you in. I said, fine, it's great. So 6 o'clock, I show up. I'm the only bald dude in a suit carrying a briefcase. Everybody else is in scrubs. And he's like, Eric, what do you need from me? And I'm like, sign here, 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 here. And his whole surgical team, like 9, 10 people, like, who's that guy? He's like, oh my God. He's like, this is my new financial advisor. He's just like, he's done everything for me. You guys got to talk to this guy. So I often said it was one of the greatest meetings I ever had, because I walked out with my implementation of a new client, but also I met 9 new people that all realized that I could try to help them. So it was a fantastic day. All the course of 90 seconds. So fast forward about 7 or 8 months, and I was doing a lot of work with the doctor and a lot of his team. And I said, I'm really thinking about specializing in working with doctors. And he's like, how can I help? So what I did is I did a lot of interviewing with a lot of the doctors with his group and doctors elsewhere. And I just wanted to understand more of the DNA and why finances and investments is something that is challenging for physicians and healthcare professionals. What I found out is that money is such a taboo topic for physicians, and it's strange. I have a physician in Boston, and she's probably the smartest person that I know. And she said to me when we talk about her finance, she's like, Eric, do you realize I would rather have my eyeballs tattooed than talk about my finances? And I was like, yeah, but you're like the smartest person I know, literally. She goes, yeah, that very well may be true. I don't like talking about my finances. If you want to talk about my medical practice, talk about it all day long. My finances, I don't enjoy it. So money is the ultimate taboo topic for physicians. What add to that is that physicians are never taught any kind of financial wellness. Nothing. Not in med school, certainly not in undergrad, not in med school, not in their residencies, not in their fellowships, and then when they get into their private practice or if they work in a medical group, they're working on patients. They're working on seeing as many patients as they can and patient outcomes. I mean, if you have any physicians that are on your LinkedIn feeds, they probably post every now and again about things like burnout, because physician burnout is a real thing, because the way the medical industry is now is that physicians are being worked harder and harder and harder, longer and longer, and they're not getting paid as much. The medical reimbursements are less. So we have physicians that are not being taught the financial wellness that they need. Their DNA is that they have this money as this ultimate taboo topic. Added to that, physicians have very high standards. And that's been kind of pounded into their DNA from med school and residencies to be the best. And they want the best patient outcomes. So they want the best for people that are going to work for them, like a financial advisor. And finally, what a lot of physicians feel is that just because they have doctor in front of their name, that they have endless pockets and everybody's after them, whether it's a financial advisor, whether it's a medical device rep or a pharma rep, or friends and family asking them to invest in a bar or restaurant. So physicians have their guards up most times because they don't know who to trust. So it's definitely a niche a group of folks that I enjoy working with, but it's very challenging because they have high standards, because it's an ultimate taboo topic, because they were never taught these things, and because it's hard for them to find people that they can trust. But once they see that what I'm trying to do for them, and also hear from maybe some of their colleagues of their experiences with me, we turn it into a really great, hopefully what I believe is a really great, genuine relationship. Just trying to see for some of the things that I wanted to put in our first podcast. So, let's put some tips together. Okay, let's put some tips together for people that are maybe getting started, whether that's a healthcare professional, doctor, or otherwise. If you're just getting started out, get into your 401k from your company. Put in at least the amount of money that you're getting matched. Increase it every year. Try not to rack up new debt. If you have a credit card, use it as a charge card, meaning you're paying it off every single year instead of accumulating more and more debt. If you're eligible, see if a Roth IRA makes good sense for you, because for most people, when you're starting out, it does. And also start thinking about how you protect what you have, whether that's homeowners insurance, life insurance, auto insurance, umbrella insurance. Talk to your property and casualty agent there. For those that are in the 30s or over 40s, you really want to start getting a temperature check of where you are in terms of retirement planning. Even though retirement may be a far time away, or you have a long runway before retirement, still by taking a temperature check, you can at least see if you're building the right blocks to be on the right pace, on the right track to get to the retirement that you wish. And then, is it time when you start getting in your 40s and 50s, getting into a retirement projection? What could retirement actually look like? How many dollars do you need coming in the door every single week and every single month to make retirement, your dream retirement, a reality? And then also, you have to understand, how are you managing your taxes? This is really vital. Any financial plan that does not take into consideration taxes is always going to be suboptimal. So these are I have a bunch of ebooks that are on my website. And if you just want to email me at emangold@argoswealthmgmt.com, I'm happy to share those ebooks with you as well on things that you can do again for your low-hanging fruit. So this is the end of podcast episode number 1, Man in Search of Gold podcast. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you're able to come up with some things. Some of the things we're going to do in the future is I'm going to do some interviews with some physicians and other professionals and have them talk about their relationship with money and their struggles with it. And also have some great people that are in the speaking world, some self-improvement folks. So it's not just going to be me blabbing all the time. It's going to be some other things that you can hear from other people that can hopefully help you. So again, I hope you enjoyed it. If you want to learn a little more, check out emangold.com. That's once again, www.emangold.com. Thanks. I hope you enjoyed it, and we'll catch you next time. This podcast is intended to be educational and is not an offer or solicitation to purchase or sell any security or to employ a specific investment strategy. It is not designed for or individually tailored to any particular investor and is not intended to be suitable or in the best interest of all types of investors. This material has been obtained from sources which we believe to be reliable, but we do not warrant or guarantee the timeliness or accuracy of this information. Opinions expressed in this video are subject to change without notice. There is no guarantee that any forecast made will be realized. Financial LLC Summit is an SEC registered investment advisor doing business as Argosy Wealth Management, offering investment advisory and financial planning services. Summit does not provide tax or legal advice. If you require such advice, you should contact the appropriate tax or legal advisor. Past performance is not a guarantee of future results. Investing involves risks, including possible loss of principal.